guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Philip and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this night vision ghost hunting game on Scratch. Now when you start the game it gets dark and you can only hunt ghosts at night, so that's why it gets dark, and then you use your night vision scope on your sniper to try to hit those ghosts. If you hit a ghost, which you do by clicking space while the ghost is touching the red mark in the middle of your scope, your ghost hit variable goes up by 1, and you can only shoot every 2 seconds, and it tells you up there that variable that says yes or no when you can shoot. Yes means yes, you can shoot. No means no, you can't shoot. And I'll tell you in this video how to make these two cool effects of when you zoom in, it zooms in on that same spot that your mouse is on, and also how the background moves just like in reality. And then when you have a timer that counts down from 30 seconds, when it gets to 0, you saw that bat pops up and tells you game over, you hit this many ghosts. So let's get started. Click the create button, and the first thing we're going to do is get the ghost sprite. Okay. So Scratch doesn't have a ghost sprite, so I'm going to go ahead and upload my own. Delete the cat sprite and upload sprite. This will be my ghost, and let's go to the costumes and make it smaller. But make sure before you make it smaller, you convert to vector, because if it's in bitmap, it will look very bad and it will be pixelated. So that's why we're going to go ahead and make it vector, and then select all of it, make it smaller, center it. Think that is good. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to make 2 of these ghosts. So for that, we'll just make 2 clones. So usually we would do it forever because we want to make a lot of clones, but since we only want to make 2 ghosts, we only repeat twice, create clone of myself. When I start as clone, let's make it go to a random position. Let's hide the original and show the clones. And then we want to forever, we want it to just move around the screen randomly. And to do that, we will use this block, glide some seconds to random position. I'm going to do 2 seconds, I think. And what this block does is it gets the ghost and it moves it 2 seconds, it glides it 2 seconds to random position. So we're going to do that forever, and that will make the ghosts move around randomly on the screen, as you can see. And so that is good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make a scope from a sniper, and basically what it's going to be is a small circle that will zoom in, and we'll make a black square around it so that it looks like that's the scope and everything else just black. So let's go ahead and do this, and what we're going to do first is paint a new sprite. So first we're going to make the black rectangle around it, so there you go. And next we are just going to erase a spot in the middle where we are going to put the scope. Alright, make sure it's right in the middle. Alright, so there you go. You can see the center. Make like a, not too big, like I said, we want it to be a small scope, but not too small either, so just right. I think that's good. Next we're going to make a circle just to make it like a perfect circle. So we're just going to hold shift to get a perfect circle. And we are just going to make the fill be nothing. So just click on this icon down here with the red line coming diagonally on it. And then the outline will be black, and it's just going to be very thick. So like 50. Alright, keep clicking the arrow. You can hold it, I believe, yes, to get it higher. And I think that's good to go ahead and center that circle that you made. Make sure you're on, yeah, and then make sure you center it right in the middle. Alright, so that's good. Next, we are going to go ahead and make this cool effect, and it's sort of, we're going to make a gradient. So click on this icon up here with the like faded circle in the middle, and what we want to do is there are 2 colors, and with the thing that in the middle that says swap. The first one's just going to be nothing. The second one's just going to be something close to white, like yellow maybe, not too bright of yellow, but like something like that. And then what you want to do is click in the center of your circle, and it gives you that, and it gives the circle that gradient. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and see what the ghosts look like through this scope. So let's show the ghosts, and we'll just drag this on top of the ghost to see what it looks like. And the effect definitely works. The edge of the circle looks more yellow, and so more faded, and then the center of the circle looks more clear. So that's good. Next, we're just going to make like a design in the circle that looks like a scope. So hold shift, and we are just going to make a circle, and hold shift to get the perfect circle. The outline, make it, let's say 10. And what we're going to do is just drag it to the center, center it, make it a bit bigger, center it. Alright, and I think that's good. Maybe a bit bigger. And then don't forget to center it. Alright, next I'm just going to make 4 like line things, how the scope has to mark the center. So what we're going to do is just lines. Hold shift to get a perfectly straight line. Alright, and yes, like I said, 4, 1 on each side, up, down, left, right. Alright, just to mark the center of the scope, and I think that that is good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make the scope only appear if I click my mouse. So when green flag clicked, we will ask ourselves forever if mouse is down. So if mouse down, then we want it to show, and then we want it to always go to mouse pointer. We want it to follow our mouse pointer. Now, otherwise, if this is not true, then we just don't want to, so we want to hide this sprite. And let's go ahead and name it. Let's call it scope. Alright, so instead of this if, like I was saying, we need an if else. Alright, so if mouse down, show, go to mouse pointer, else we want to hide. Alright, and then at the beginning, well, let's go ahead and set the size to, let's say something big, like 300. And it didn't let me set size to 300. It let me set it to only 123. And that's because this sprite is really big. As you can see, it's bigger than the screen, the actual screen. So we have to somehow trick the computer into thinking that it's small. So what we're going to do is we are going to add another costume, and it's just going to be something small, let's say just a dot. So like that, just a dot, tiny dot. And what we're going to do is before we set size, we're going to switch to that costume. And since that costume is super small, it will let the size of that one be high, like 300, like we want it to be. And it will trick the computer into thinking that it's that costume, even though we're just about to switch it back to this costume. So what we're going to do is we'll name this costume not costume 2, we'll call it the small. Just small. And then this one will be just costume 1 is fine for this one. Alright, so we will at the beginning set size to 300, but before we set size to 300, we will switch costume to small. And then after we set size to 300, we'll switch costume to costume 1. Alright, so let's go ahead and test it now. As you can see, the size is 300. Now we do gotta make sure that we're in full screen, otherwise it'll think we're dragging something when we click our mouse down. Let's go ahead and see. So there are the ghosts, and it still has that fading effect, and that is really cool. It follows your mouse, and then when I let go, it goes away, and the ghosts are still there. And then next, we have to make the ghosts zoom in. And to do that, we are just going to go to the ghost sprite, and what we're going to do is we want to ask ourselves if the scope is on the screen. Now, there's no way to really do that. There's no block for that. So we know that if the mouse is down, then the scope is shown. So we're just going to ask ourselves if mouse is down. Alright, so if mouse down, Then we want to set size to something big. So like it gives the effect of zooming in. 150 should be just fine. And otherwise, so else, we want it to set size to something small, which will be the original. Alright, so set size to, let's say, 20%. Alright, and we can't put this code, we need to put this code in a forever. But we can't really put in this forever because we have this glide 2 seconds random position block. And if we put this code right here, it will get affected by this 2 seconds, the glide 2 seconds, which is basically like a wait. So it'll wait 2 seconds before doing this if, and it'll just be like glitchy. It'll look glitchy, but it just, because it's waiting 2 seconds every time the ghosts have to glide. So what we're going to do is get a new when I start as a clone and a new forever. Alright, and let's go ahead and test this. Alright, now let's make full screen. And the ghosts I think are too small from the start, so we'll start with like 30% maybe. And I think that's good. Alright, now let's scope up, and there we can see that the ghosts are zoomed in when I go on top of them. But the thing is, they're always zoomed in. We just can't see them because of the black. Alright, so that is good. Next, I think it's really boring how there is no backdrop and it's just this white screen. So let's go ahead and add a backdrop, alright? And since they're ghosts, let's add this castle background, alright? So next we want to zoom in this background, but like that's not possible. You can't zoom in backgrounds because there are no set or change sizes in the code of the backdrops. So what we're going to do is just make this into a sprite. So copy this picture and paint a new sprite and paste that picture, and let's make it go to 0, 0, so it's right in the center. And let's go to the code, and what we want it to do is we want it to, when green flag clicked, forever, you want it the same what the ghost was doing. If it's touching, if the mouse is down, so if mouse down, then we want it to set size to something big. And that's just going to be double for me of its original size. So 200 would be double of its original size, which is 100. Alright? Alright, so let's do that. And let's go ahead and at the beginning, we want to, forever, go to back layer because otherwise it's going to be on top of the ghosts and on top of the scope and you won't see them. Alright? And there you go. Let's start and make sure you go full screen so that it doesn't think you're dragging. Alright, it zooms in, but let's check something. So if you get rid of this right here, we can see something, and you can see that the size only goes up. So here, the size is only 150. It doesn't go to 200. So we gotta do the same trick we did for the scope, which is the dot, the costume with the dot. So let's go ahead and do this. Oh, let's try to get it more centered. Okay, that's okay. Alright, doesn't really matter. So we will switch costume to, before we set size to 200, switch costume to costume 2, which is the small costume. Might as well rename it. Alright, and then after we want to switch costume to the normal background costume 1. Alright, let's go ahead and test it. And at the beginning switch costume to costume 1, otherwise it will just appear sometimes with just the dot, and that's not the castle. So alright, here let's get rid of this block again and see what the size is, and now it goes to 200, so that is good. See if it zooms into the castle, and yeah, there's the castle over there. So it zooms in definitely, so that is good. Next, let me show you a problem, okay? So here it is, and when we zoom in on, let's say, this castle window, it doesn't actually zoom in on the castle window. It zooms in on this tree, apparently. And the castle window is like somewhere over here, or even over here off the screen. That's a problem, because when you zoom on a specific thing, you want to zoom actually on that specific thing. And that is because this picture, it doubles the size because we set the size to 200. And what we want to do is, let's take the right the top right corner, for instance. If we want to zoom in somewhere in the top right corner, let's say, like I said, this castle window, we want the picture will move this way. And like I said, it might even be off the screen somewhere over here. And let me go ahead and show you guys what to do. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and draw it out for you. So this is the regular screen. Okay? And this is what the zoomed background would look like. It would be double the size. Okay? So let's say this is the center, somewhere over there. Right? And then we have a dot over here. Let's say we have something over here. So since we're doubling this, the background, it'll be somewhere over here. Right? So we need to bring it back to where it was so that we can just zoom in, and we actually zoom in on that thing. Okay? So what we're going to do is we need to bring it to the left, right? So we need to change X set X to minus X, and that X position is the X position of the scope, because that's where we zoomed in. Okay? So, and then same for the Y. That's what we're going to do. Okay? So let's go ahead and go to the code. And what we're going to do is we are going to set X to 0 minus, because we just need minus, but for Scratch is 0 minus the X of the scope, because that's where we zoomed. Alright, and then don't forget to do the same for X. For Y, sorry. For the Y position. 0 minus the Y position of scope. Let's go ahead and test this. And here we go. I zoom in on this roof over here, and I actually zoom in on that roof. And then this happens. And to fix this, we just want to make this backdrop, well, it's a sprite, but this backdrop thing to go back to 0, 0 if the mouse is not clicked, so if we're not zoomed in. So go to 0, 0 here, else, in the else, so that if mouse down, it's the else, if mouse is not down, basically. Let's go ahead and test it, make it full screen, start the program, and we are going to go ahead and zoom in onto this roof of the house, and it zooms in right there, and when we let go, it stays in 0, 0. It also gives us this cool sensation how the background moves along with it, so it looks like reality. Alright, let's go ahead and make the scope a bit bigger. So let's go to the scope code, and what we're going to do is, instead of set size to 300, we'll make it 400. Alright, next we're going to go to the scope costumes and just make it lighter. So what we're going to do is click the center circle, and what we're going to do is just make a clear no fill, like that. And then the outer circle will just be a very light yellow, but not quite white or clear. Alright, so like that, maybe a 20 would be good, yeah. And let's test it. When we zoom in, you can see that it's much clearer. Try to zoom in on the castle. Yeah, it's much clearer, and that looks very good. So that is very good. Now let's go ahead and add a way to shoot the ghosts, okay? So to do this, first of all, we need to click a key. Let's say the space key. And the ghost needs to also be touching the scope. But if we just say touching the scope, it can touch any small part of the scope, like the very edge of the scope. And if it touches only the very edge of the scope, it just won't be good because we only want it to disappear if it like touches a specific spot in the center of the scope. So to fix this problem, we are going to add a small circle in the center of the scope, and only if it's touching the color of that little circle and a space key is clicked, then we will get the ghost. Alright, so let's go ahead and make a circle, no fill, so fill this red line center, that means no fill. And then outline, I'm just going to go ahead and do a red outline of, let's say, 1, okay? Let's go ahead, hold shift to get a perfect circle. Alright, make sure it's centered too. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and start the program just to see how it looks, to make sure it's good. And I think that that is good. Alright, so let's go to the ghost sprite, and we will ask ourselves if the space key is pressed and it's touching that color, that red color for me, because I made a red circle of 0, 100, and 100. Then let's say we always want 2 ghosts on the screen. So we want 2 ghosts on the screen at all times. But that won't really be possible if we just delete a ghost when we shoot it, because then there'll only be 1, and then if you shoot that last one, there'll only be 0. So we need to create another ghost right before this ghost gets deleted. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just create clone of myself and delete this clone. Okay. Make sure you put this if in this forever, not this forever, because otherwise it'll get affected by this glide 2 seconds block. So you've got to put it here. Alright, so that's good. Next, let's test it. So make it full screen, start the program, and let's zoom in. And here, there's the red circle, and when we shoot a ghost, it disappears, and we can still see there's still 2 ghosts. So that's good. No. When we shoot and it's not touching the red one, but it's still on the scope, it doesn't disappear. So that's good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make a variable that counts the ghosts that I've hit. So let's go to variables, make a variable, and I'm going to call it ghosts hit. It's basically like a score, kind of. Alright, at the beginning, let's set ghosts hit to 0, and then, oh wait. So at the beginning, set ghosts hit to 0, and then every time a ghost gets deleted, so over here, we change ghosts hit by 1. Okay? And there's ghosts hit. Alright, so let's go ahead and test it. So when I hit a ghost hit goes up by 1, and I hit another ghost, goes up by 1. So that's good. But there's also this cheat that you can do to get your ghost hit up super high. And you can just hold out the space key and move this everywhere, and you will automatically just hit all the ghosts, because like there's no other spot for them to be except for on the screen. So they're like, I'm already at 15 and it's only been like 5 seconds. So to fix this, we are only going to be able to shoot every 2 seconds, let's say. So to do that, there's this idea of to make a variable that will be called something like can shoot, and it'll either be no or yes. If it's yes, then obviously you can shoot. If it's no, you can't shoot. Alright? And every time we hit a ghost, we'll set it to no. At the beginning it'll be yes, and then every 2 seconds it'll be back to yes. Okay? So let's go ahead and make a variable. I'm going to call it can shoot. Alright. Whoops. There we go. Okay. And at the beginning, we will set can shoot to yes. Alright, and then you'll only be able to hit a ghost. So here we have to add to this if can shoot is yes. Alright, so we'll add another and to this if, and it'll be if can shoot. So this right here equals yes, okay? Alright, and also like I said, here, every time we hit a ghost, can shoot will be no. Okay? And then every 2 seconds, it will set it to yes. So we have to make another one green flag clicked because it will need a wait. If we put a wait in this same forever, then it will change everything, and it will have to wait 2 seconds before asking itself if mouse down, blah blah blah. Alright, so when green flag clicked, forever wait 2 seconds, and then set can shoot to yes. Alright, so let's go ahead and test this. Let's move can shoot over here to this corner. Alright, go ahead and test it. And so we can shoot this ghost. There we go, up by 1. And now it's no. Now it's yes. Can shoot is yes. I can shoot. No, I can't shoot it. But then no, I can't. Yes, I can. So it seems to be working. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add some cool effects, and the first one that I'm going to do is this night effect, so that it looks like we're hunting ghosts at night, alright? So first we have to make it on this, we have to change the brightness of the sprite 1. So we will, when green flag clicked, we will slowly get darker, just so that it's a cool effect. So repeat, let's say 20 times, change brightness effect, oh, whoops, not color. Change brightness, no, not ghost. Change brightness effect by -3. Okay, let's test that. I think that's perfect. Now, let's make it that when we zoom in, it goes back to the regular amount. So here we will set, lift mouse down, that's when we zoom in. Set brightness to 0, which is the normal amount, and then otherwise we will set it back to what this would be at the end, so which is -60, because 20 times by -3 makes it -60. Okay, so let's just go ahead and test that. So it's dark, but then when I zoom, it zooms in. Oh, oops. So it's dark, but when I zoom in, it zooms in the light picture, and then when I zoom back out, it's still the dark picture. So that's good. Next, let's go ahead and do the same for the ghost. Let's go over to the ghost, and what we want to do is when we're not zoomed in, so when the else of the if mouse down, so we will set brightness to what the sprite 1, the background, would do. Okay, so it would be -60. Alright, and then when we are zoomed in, we want to make the brightness back to the normal amount so that we can still see the ghost when we zoom in. Alright, let's go ahead and test this. The ghosts look good like this. When we zoom in, it's still the bright ghosts that appear. So that is good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a pixelate effect when we hit a ghost. So all we need to do for this is a repeat right before we delete the clone. And inside of that repeat, we'll change pixelate effect by, let's say, 10. Alright, let's test this, and let's shoot a ghost. And I think that is perfect. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a timer that counts down from 30 seconds. So you have 30 seconds to hit all the ghosts before morning comes. So let's go ahead and make a variable that I will call timer. At the beginning, let's go ahead and set timer to 30. Alright, and then another one, green flag clicked, forever, wait 1 second, and change it by -1. Change that variable by -1. Change timer by -1. Alright, and then when timer reaches 0, we want the game to stop. Okay, so we'll ask ourselves if timer, and we're not going to ask ourselves if it equals 0. We're going to ask ourselves if it's smaller than 0 because it might not get to exactly 0. We don't know. Just to make sure, it's just going to be smaller than 0. So if timer is smaller than 0, then we want to stop all, right? And we're going to do this cool effect of how we will get another sprite, let's say a bat, that will pop up and say um, game over, and you hit this many ghosts. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's choose a sprite. We are going to get the bat. So just search up bat and it should pop up right there. This guy right here. And what this guy is going to do is when green flag clicked, he is going to hide. And then he's actually the guy that's going to be that's going to ask if the timer is less than 0. Okay, so we're going to drag that code over here in a forever. Alright, so forever, if timer is less than 0, then we want to say something. So we will say game over. But then we also want to say something else, which is going to be you hit this many ghosts. So to do that, we need to say multiple things. So we will use this block right here called join. We'll say join game over. And then a space, don't forget a space, game over. And then we'll need another join, which will be you hit. And then we need to know how many ghosts you hit. And how do we find out the number of ghosts we hit? Well, we just use our variable ghosts hit, and that's exactly how many ghosts we hit. So join game over, you hit, and then you hit this ghosts hit. So we got to get one more join. So game over, you hit the variable ghosts. Alright? And then stop all. Alright, so let's go ahead and test this. Let's make this can shoot variable. Oh, and then we need to remember to show the bat right before we say this, because it's hidden. Okay? So the ghosts hit, the timer, and then if you can shoot up here. Let's go ahead and test this. And zoom in, let's hit a ghost, and we can see the timer is going down, so we only have 30 seconds to hit as many ghosts as we possibly can. And remember, you can only shoot every 2 seconds, so that's gonna be hard. Alright, timers 7, 5, 4, 3. It should say I hit 11 ghosts, 1, and then the bat pops up and says game over, you hit that many ghosts. Alright, let's just make it stay up for, let's say, 5 seconds, and that should be good. So let's go ahead and name the project. I'm going to name it Night Vision Ghost Hunting, because that scope kind of gives you like the night vision, and plus we're hunting at night. Night Vision Ghost Hunting. Whoops. Okay, so Night Vision Ghost Hunting. So thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and may the code be with you.